Lots of pigeons right now. Lots of crows. Welcome to my office space. Da 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 da. This is where I come to hang out when I need some time alone in the wild. It's a beautiful, very wild, overgrown patch of nature. It's really gorgeous. And hopefully I'm not making you too dizzy. And this is my office space. If you can see that there. I'm just working on a few things and I wanted to make a video. You can see I've got lots of stuff. I've got my oracles. I've got some books. Homemade chocolate, all the good stuff, and some crystals, pyramid, selenite wand, things like that. It's a really wonderful space to hang out. Lots of birds around. These guys are they're baby magpies, that's what they are. They've got the little blue feathers, and I can see a woodpecker too. Lots of birds around, lots of bugs. If you see me go like this, it's because there's a million bugs. But that's the beauty of it right now. I'm in nature, and it's pretty wild. There's lots of wild grass and thistles and spiky plants and things, and it's just so beautiful. I really love surrounding myself in this kind of environment. So today I wanted to talk to you guys just a little bit more about my own story and how I came to be a mindfulness practitioner, and I guess let you know more about me. And it's a tough topic, like, to talk about myself. I find it really weird. I find it really easy to write about anything else. Really, honestly, I do. I've been writing for, I'd say, over 6 years now online. And at first it was just blogging, just about all kinds of random things that I'd gotten up to and things, but never very personal. And then it turned into a website which I created, and I still have online, and it's a lot of poetry and a lot of really in-depth topics about life and about nature and beauty and small wonders, which is what I'm here to talk to you about today, I guess. So let's get into it. We'll do that. That's what we'll do. So I have here a bunch of things in my office space, and one of them is this book. Hopefully you can see that. That's Simple Pleasures. This book really changed my life when I read it. It is amazing. And I read this when I was probably about 11. It tells different stories from different people about the things that they find pleasurable in life, the things that they find really delicious. Let me read a little bit. They have these beautiful sections, and if you've read any part of my website, you will understand where I got my inspiration from. I didn't realize this until recently as well, but basically this inspired my whole creative life. So, brief pleasures. Drifting off to sleep in the musty bedroom of an old lakeshore cottage to the drone of distant motorboats and quiet lapping of waves. Waking up each morning at the age of 82, knowing I'm living on borrowed time and savoring every moment of it. A mouthful of watermelon on a sweltering day in a place where you can spit the seeds out as far as you want and let the juice dribble all down your chin and chest. I love that one. That is certainly something I find pleasure in. being wrapped in a hot flannel the moment after giving birth. I wouldn't know this, but apparently that is a beautiful thing. Hearing the ninth major chord properly placed in tune the way it is on Rita Coolidge's Seven Bridges Road, so it resonates deeply within my soul and sends a thrill through my body. These are just moments. These are small moments of people's own pleasure, and it's like a brief glimpse into their life. And I love that. Snapshots of life. I really love that. So, with that, I wanted to say that really my own journey into mindfulness had a lot to do with this kind of thing. I had the basis already set. I had read many books on mindfulness and this book, and I had thought about many things when I was younger. If you want books, I would highly recommend any book by Thich Nhat Hanh, especially Being Peace. That changed my entire life when I read it at the age of 11. But basically, I had this basis when I came into difficulty, and difficulty hit. And this is where I'm going to talk a little bit more about me and a part of my story that is integral to me, that I cannot disconnect from, but that makes me who I am, and I'm so grateful for it. So it's a difficult topic. It's hard to talk about these things, especially to the public, but I feel that it can be hopefully useful to you guys. Maybe you'll feel like you're less alone, maybe, who knows. So from the ages of 15 up until the age of about 20, I was in an abusive relationship. Full on, emotional crap. Bad, yeah. Hopefully, oh my gosh. I'm in the golf course, guys. Hold on. Okay, after that brief interlude, I was helping some guys find their golf ball. And as I said, I am in the golf course, but I'm kind of in this little bubble of nature, which is really sweet and really lovely. But it seems reality comes in at some points. So, where was I? I was talking about my journey into mindfulness, and I had gotten up to the part about the bad relationship I was in. So, I won't go into that very much, but I will say this. It was tough, number one. Number two, I was very isolated. The nature of the relationship was that I didn't have a lot of contact with my family anymore, and I was separated from my old group of friends and was not allowed to make new friends. So I was very isolated and also censored in what I was able to say to anyone. So I was very alone. I felt very alone. I felt quite down about myself a lot of the time and about life in general. It was hard. It was definitely very difficult. Yeah, it wasn't easy, that's for sure. I found myself crying a lot, often, every night, which was terrible, but at the same time I learned so many things out of that relationship about myself. I was forced to really go in and look at where I was and how I dealt with things and who I was. And the loneliness about it forced me to know who I was. So that was a beautiful outcome, and I'm very grateful actually for everything that I learned out of that. But one of the most wonderful tiny little things that I learned was I guess to look at the bright side of life, you know? Always look at the bright side of life. Da-dum, da-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. Oh God. If you're watching this and you're like, no. Okay, but basically what I learned was suffering is not enough. There has to be something more to life. And that is one of my favorite quotes from Thich, Nhat, Hanh. I really took that to heart. Suffering is not enough. But what it spoke to me of was this idea that there is so much more to life than suffering. Suffering is a huge part of it, but there's also the other part of it, which is the beauty, and both of these go hand in hand. They go together. Even when I was suffering, there was so much beauty in life, and it became my duty to myself to notice these things. This was the tiny seed that was planted in me, in my being, to become mindful, to use this as a way of life. Because when things were hard in the wider perspective, when things were difficult, and I found I just didn't want to think about the future, and I didn't know how I was going to get through things, I would look for things on a smaller scale. I would look for the tiny details, and I called that small wonders. And I talk about that on my website a lot, which I made at that time, actually. It was my way of focusing in on those small wonders and trying to look for the beauty that was all around me and take nourishment for that, which is a huge, wonderful idea, I feel, is taking nourishment from everything around you, really breathing that in, imbibing that, and feeling it. Even when you are in a difficult place, you can do that too. So for instance, the air around me that I breathe. Very lucky about that. I have so many wonderful things around me right now. I have an airplane, as per usual, and up there are clouds and a blue sky. Around me also are wonderful grasses. I have chocolate that I ate there. Books to read. I have the sounds of birds, which if I tune in on them, it can be such a joy. And flowers and the sound of a river. I am surrounded by joy. And anything else that is going on outside of this moment is just in my head, basically. If I'm thinking about yesterday and some fight that I had, or the future and a plan that I need to get done, that's not here, that's not now, that's not nourishing me in the same way. So when I was younger and I was going through this difficult period of having to reflect on what was joyful and getting any kind of nourishment that I needed, it really helped to look at the present moment, because that was where the joy was situated for me. That's where it was contained. There was no joy in the future that I could ever see, ever. And there was no joy in the past, in the day before. There was nothing that I could get from that anymore. And I really needed to look outside to the things around me and inside to a sense of well-being that underlied everything. So that was the beginning of my trip into mindfulness. Pretty intense, yes, I know, but at the same time, what do they call it? Trial by fire. There you go. That's kind of what it was, and sometimes it needs to be learned like that. Sometimes people need that. Some people don't, but I'm so grateful for it. And now you know a little bit more about me, where I'm coming from, why I do this. It's just a tiny, tiny bit of me, really. And I don't feel it's the whole part of me. I try and tell the story in a different way now. When I first used to tell it, I give all the details and I just really go into it. But now things have changed and I feel a lot more okay about it all. So that's cool. You'll find that happens. But hopefully, in saying this, I can kind of give you a perspective on how you can go about finding your joy. Let's just say, here I am, I'm Zoe, I am very happy and excited to be here talking to you like this as a friend, and happy to share my stories, personal stories, experiences. Hopefully they can help.